Give It a Look, the podcast bringing back the personal pop culture recommendation with Rin and Rojo.
Are you ready, kids? How you doing, everyone? It's Rojo here. Welcome to Give It a Look. I'm here with my co-host Rin. Rin, how have you been keeping active in these lockdown fat times?
I downloaded an app, and so I've been working out 4 to 5 times a week and trying to go for walks. So that's what I've been kind of doing. And the weather's been okay, so it's been nice to kind of go for a walk. I was just going for walks down to the shops and back, you know, not necessarily buying anything, but just kind of, that was my goal point, and then I'd walk back. So it was about 5K walk. So that was pretty decent. What about you?
Me, yeah, I've got a nice athletics track, which I go for a run around, and lots of people like to get there, and it hasn't been shut down, so that's nice.
That's nice.
Also do a little bit of yoga most mornings as well, just to warm up the old core.
We're going to get out of lockdown and be like super fit.
Oh, yes. Practical Adonises, I'm sure.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I'm working on my belt. We've had a big week here at Give It a Look. We got new microphones this week. Wow. And you know what that means, Rin?
What?
That means we can make gross ASMR sounds in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh God. Oh, well, you can.
Okay, that's the last time I'm doing that. I know that gets on a lot of people's nerves. We were also looking at our metrics this week, and we have gone international, people. We have some random listeners in the UK and the Philippines, apparently. So, Rin, do you have anything you'd like to say to our Filipino and British fans out there?
Subscribe, spread the word, you know? Get us across everywhere in the world. That'd be great.
You sound like you're from London. Yeah, look at that.
That was terrible. I apologise to everybody in the UK.
That's all right. New markets. It's an exciting thing. We are in the middle of Music Month here at Give It a Look. And this week we've made a recommendation to each other of an album that the other person has not listened to back to front. We're going to start with my recommendation to you, Rin. Mm-hmm. I chose 1998's Dizzy Up the Girl by the Goo Goo Dolls. Now, this was album number 6 from the Buffalo 3-piece. It was their first album with their drummer Mike Melonen. It was their major label debut on Warner Music and their first full collaboration under the rock producer star Rob Cavallo. Now, the Goo Goo Dolls actually started in the mid-'80s, so they've been around forever. The original name was the Sex Maggots, which they changed once they realised it wasn't very marketable. And their bassist Robbie was their original lead singer. Johnny Resnick, who's probably more well-known as their lead singer nowadays, didn't come to the forefront until the 90s. This album enjoyed a huge lead-in with the success of the song Iris, which Johnny wrote for the Meg Ryan and Nicolas Cage film City of Angels. This is back in the day when movie soundtracks were huge business. You know, I particularly like the scene in this film where Nicolas Cage goes, you know, I don't want the world to see me because I don't think that they understand.
That was very good.
Thank you so much. But the single itself, Iris, was number 1 in Australia and Canada, and it was a huge radio hit in the US. The album itself didn't quite hit those peaks. It reached number 4 in Canada, number 15 in the US, number 17 in Australia, and went on to sell about 4 million albums. What you have in Dizzy Up the Girl is very much the sound of a grungier college rock band having their rougher edges sanded down to be a bit more appealing to 90s rock radio a la Matchbox 20. But when it's this slick and this confident, I don't find much to complain about. Before I had my own personal music player, I used to put this on in the family room and turn it up so loud that I could hear it at the other end of the house while I was doing the washing. So I must have pissed off my family so much doing that. But this was a massive earworm for me. Rin, to dizzy someone up means to take them out and to show them a good time. Did this album dizzy you up?
Yeah, I actually did quite like this album. It came from that era where it was kind of like rocky and grungy at the same time. And there's definitely songs where you can tell that they're John Resnick, and then there's the other songs that you can tell are like Robbie Takak. Yeah. So you can definitely tell the difference in the two, because I kind of thought, I just assumed John Resnick was the main singer like throughout the album. But then when I looked into it, I'm like, oh, no wonder. Because I actually wrote down each song that I thought sounded more grungy as well. And I kind of went, oh, okay, that makes sense because it's not John Resnick singing. It's Robbie singing. So I was like, oh, okay, yep, picked that. There you go.
I was going to ask whether you were shook when you got to track 4 and you realised, wait a minute, there are different lead singers here.
The way like Robbie sings, it's a bit more, I think, punk grunge. Like that's how I was kind of hearing it. John's kind of vocals were a bit more soft rock kind of sound, I suppose. There's 4 songs that I did like in particular, and they just happened to not be Robbie's songs, they were John's.
Tell me about
by
them.
John. I liked Dizzy, I like Slide, I like Iris, and I like Broadway. I have had Iris, I think, on most of my playlists for as long as I can remember. You know, it's one of those songs that I just really enjoy, and it's just really good. You know, it's a classic. I think it's one of those songs people really know. And it's interesting. I didn't know it was written for a movie.
I used to skip Iris a fair bit when listening to this because I thought, oh, it's the most mainstream one. It's the one everybody knows. But having a break from it and just listening to it without the context of it being on every radio station, you know, nonstop, it's a great song and deserved every bit of success, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, I think Slide comes in as a really close second as well. A lyric that I really liked, put your arms around me, what you feel is what you are and what you are is beautiful. And I was like, oh, that's so nice. Yeah. It was so like poetic and just really lovely to hear. I was like, oh, bless.
Slide was the very first song I ever learnt on acoustic guitar, or learnt a version of, because the Goo Goo Dolls are known for strange guitar tunings and lots of open chords. I would play it so much on guitar that the rhythm of it I found hard to deviate from. So I was trying to learn other songs and finding that I was strumming in the pattern of Slide. For like months. I mean, you know, I was just learning, so.
I've kind of been a detective, and I think I've found something out about you. So Iris was a best-selling single in Ireland. And what else was a big hit in Ireland? David Gray. Whoa, maybe you're actually looking at the Irish charts constantly. That's where you get your tunes from, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, fair enough. I relate to your love of Broadway. Broadway really brings this kind of alt country feel to the fore. There's this lovely guitar tone in the lead guitar that comes out, and it has almost this hoedown kind of feel to it. It's constantly returning to this musing on Broadway is dark tonight, a little bit weaker than it used to be. Broadway in reference to the borough of Buffalo, New York, where Johnny grew up, not the musical theatre Broadway. They're really willing to play with dynamics as well. All Eyes on Me has these kind of slow building verses into this massive strings and guitar chorus. And this was probably their first time really playing around with strings. And it was just a lovely little marriage, I suppose.
So I was looking at the song title, Am I Gone? But because it's all kind of one word, I was kind of reading like, Am I Gone? And I thought,
gone there?
Yeah, I kind of thought, is that like a Pokemon or a Digimon or something? Like that's what came into my head, but separate the words.
What were some of the weaker links or elements of the album, did you feel?
I quite enjoyed John's vocals a lot more. Like that was more my jam. Robbie's not as much. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like, you know, punk rock and things like that. But I think for me, for this particular album, I think John's vocals were more enjoyable. And I guess when you have an album, like you assume for it to be same sound, I suppose, but varying. While, you know, with Robbie's, yeah, you get thrust into that punk rock kind of arena. And when you're going from soft rock to punk rock, it's a big jump in a way. And that's probably my only gripe. Again, overall, I quite liked this album. Would I listen to it constantly like you? Probably not. But if it was on, I wouldn't complain.
Yeah, a bit of a crowd pleaser. Yeah, you're right about Robbie's songs can be jarring. I think they're the weaker part of the album, but I also can appreciate them as part of the Goo Goo Dolls' history, and he continued to write and co-write a number of their songs going forward. And I think it just creates a nice cohesion. Thematically, a lot of these songs are kind of stories and narratives. There's a little bit of an overuse of kind of the woman who's a little bit of a mess, but is kind of going about her life, You get that sense in Dizzy. Slide famously is about a young couple deciding whether they're going to keep a baby or not. Black Balloon is about being in love with an addict. If you want to look up a cute YouTube video, the Goo Goo Dolls actually appeared on Sesame Street around about the same time that they made Slide and did a version of it called Pride with Elmo, which is really good. And Iris is just so cinematic. If you look up footage of them playing it at their 2004 Buffalo show, they basically played in the middle of a giant rainstorm, and it's just like it feels right when that mandolin comes in kind of thing. I really enjoyed the opening, the album closer, Hate This Place as well. For some reason, it really feels like a closer. I don't know how to describe it, but the way that maybe it's just the chords used, it feels like it's kind of galloping off into the sunset, into whatever the next chapter is as the guitars kind of fade out. I've never seen Goo Goo Dolls in concert. They actually haven't been to Australia for a very long time.
Well, there's only the two of them now, isn't there?
That's right. Mike left the band a couple of years ago. I might not go see them if they ever do come here because I'd be concerned they'd just play new stuff.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes that happens, doesn't it? And it's disappointing. You want the classics.
Yeah, their next album, Gutterflower, has some real winning tracks on it, but it's probably the last album that kind of appealed to me on that level. Any other thoughts wrapping up?
No, I think my verdict is give it a look.
Yeah, there it is. And you should be able to find Dizzy Up the Girl on all major music streaming services. Rin, what was your recommendation to me this week?
So my recommendation to you was the 2013 album Bangerz by Miley Cyrus. Bangerz was Miley's fourth album, essentially the first album where she had broken free from the Disney Corporation. And I think you can tell through the songs that it's very much not a Disney track. It was interesting because I remember when it came out and it definitely got a lot of mixed reviews. I mean, myself, I didn't listen to it for quite a while. And when I did listen to it, I was like, man, these are bangers. And I really enjoyed this album. She broke from that Disney mold of being the good girl and breaking from being Hannah Montana and kind of going out of that scope of that world, I suppose. Yeah, she decided, she was going to not concentrate on her acting as such, but would, concentrate on her music album. There's a lot of big names on this album as well. Like you've got like Nelly and you've got Britney Spears and Ludacris and, a few others as well. It was funny. I was writing down the songs that I like and I just kept writing most of them. So I just stopped and I was like, okay, maybe it's easier if I say which ones I didn't care for as much, which isn't many. Like it's one of those albums. It's good to kind of, pop it on. But yeah, what did you think of the album?
This was a bit of a struggle for me, Rin. Look, you said that this was part of her, I guess, breaking away from her child star image, if you like. I mean, there was the new haircut. There was the grinding on Robin Thicke kind of thing. I mean, that's all well and good. We've seen that before. That's fine. But I just found most of this pretty broad, pretty average, pretty shallow, narcissistic pop, to be honest.
There you go.
Kentucky Fried Hip Hop, if you like.
That's okay. You're allowed your opinion. I mean, it's wrong, but you're allowed it. It's fine.
Mike Will Made It produced a bunch of tracks on this. I am never a fan of producers who feel the need to brand the songs at the start of their thing. I mean, it was funny when Jason Derulo did it, and then it was questionable when DJ Khaled started to do it. But I don't need that. I think your art needs to speak for itself kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's just more of a stylistic thing. It starts with I Adore You, which as a track is just kind of there for me, not doing much. Pretty much all of Mike Will Made It's produced tracks have this modulated voice on it, going party and party, party, and we all do our thing, and I just found it a little bit much.
Yeah.
There's some inspired lyricism here in We Can't Stop. Everyone in line for the bathroom trying to get a line in the bathroom. I mean, that's nice. That's too clever by half. That's the kind of line I would put in a spoken word piece.
The biggest hits are We Can't Stop and definitely Wrecking Ball. Like, that was a massive hit. One of my favorite lyrics was in the song F You, and it says, I've got two letters for you. One of them is F and the other one is you. And I was like, chef's kiss, that is poetry. I'm like,
we're not being coy here. The song is actually called F You.
Yeah. That's some good lyrics right there. Everyone's wanted to say F you to somebody, I'm sure, in their life. Because it came out 2013. I probably listened to it 2014. I probably would have been 2021 around that stage. So I was obviously like the prime demographic as well. So I think also it's kind of nostalgic in that sense. Miley Cyrus, she's quite a badass, badass bitch kind of thing. I like that she doesn't apologize. She's moved on to a lot of better music as well. I like that she's kind of authentically herself as well. Like, I think that's really admirable, and it's quite scary, especially when you're in the public eye. So, maybe the song F You is a ode to all those people.
Yeah, look, she's undoubtedly talented, and I think Midnight Sky is a great pop song. I think she continues to grow, and I think as she writes more of her own stuff, she's obviously in this for the long haul kind of thing. And, I'll look on with interest. But I do think the kind of approach this album's going for has probably been superseded by other names like Ariana Grande and stuff like that. SMS Bangerz repurposes Push It.
That probably wasn't one of my favorite. I was like, oh yeah, I'm not putting that on my list. Not every album has hit after hit after hit.
Yeah, that's right. They asked me how I keep a man, I keep a battery pack. Very clever, Miley. Very provocative. Good for you.
She's just speaking for the sisters,
That's right. I'll tell you the stuff that I didn't mind. There's 2 tracks on here which were produced and co-written by Pharrell Williams, and those were the ones that I actually liked the most. So one of them is 4x4.
Not a fan. I was not a fan of that song.
I thought it was like a cute throwback to obviously her country roots and a bit of Spanish guitar. I think Nelly's spot on it is probably my favorite one of all the guest spots. The other song he wrote was #GetItRight, which has this kind of fun clipped guitar and whistling. The song itself is kind of give or take. The production is great, and I'm not sure if they've worked together a whole lot outside of that. I've never been crazy about Wrecking Ball outside of its memeability. My least favourite song by far was My Darling. I just find it drags on without much to say. And Future, not really familiar with their work, but that kind of Fetty Wap style rapping, I don't know how to put it. The kind of lack of enunciation is just grinding to my ears, really.
Like I said last week, I don't like mumbly songs where I can't understand. I'm like, what? Huh?
Yeah.
Can you say that again? Can I have subtitles, please?
This is just part of the evolution, but I think there's some really uninspired lyricism and not a whole lot wrong with the album, but not really what I kind of look for. But yeah, did you have any other insight?
I'm going on the defense here because I love Miley.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of our listeners do too. I just love that, this album, I guess was, like I said, it was kind of like her breakaway. Keeping in mind, she was also, I think, 21-ish. At the time, so quite young. She's definitely developed in her music abilities. Like her voice is amazing. Again, I think in this album, because there are the electronics aspects in it, which really they don't need. But I guess it's probably to go into theme with this album. But again, you'll hear in her later albums, she's got that real husky voice. She's actually got a really beautiful voice where it's quite storytelling and it's very soulful as well. And I'm always looking forward to what she's coming out with next. Like recently she's made a rock album and it's gone gangbusters as well. Each few years she kind of reinvents herself in a different way as well, which I think as an artist is important as well. So you can see where she's come from I guess, Hannah Montana days, and then you go to Bangerz, and when you hear Malibu, where you think, oh, what a beautiful song as well, and then you go Midnight Sky, the evolution of Miley Cyrus.
I prefer her singing her cover to Jolene to this. I think this is a case of too many cooks, maybe a little bit of, overproduction, kind of growing pains, and people putting on maybe ill-fitting clothes, so to speak, onto Miley.
Literally, and,
But I think as she continues to grow, she's definitely got the potential to become another Madonna, like you said, reinventing herself every couple of years. And I think she's still extremely relevant kind of thing and has a huge fan base. This is a give it a miss for me, unfortunately, but was good to get a little bit more exposure to when she started to come into her own as an artist.
I mean, you're wrong, but it's fine.
Maybe you're all of that. That was good. What's your next recommendation for me, Rin?
Yeah, so my next recommendation to you is the 2007 self-titled album Scouting for Girls by Scouting for Girls. So when I first came to recognize this band was when I went and saw the movie Angus Thongs and Perfect Snogging. And so She's So Lovely is in that movie. And that's how I came into contact, I suppose, with this particular album. And then I also enjoyed their album after that one as well. So yes, that's my recommendation for you.
Is that the movie where what's her name is dressed as an olive or something?
Yes.
Yeah,
She's an olive. I love that
I haven't seen the movie, but I know the scene.
What's your recommendation for me, Rojo?
We are going pop punk for you next week, Rin. I'm giving you Never Take Friendship Personal, the sophomore album from Anne Boleyn. So expect plenty of guitars up to your ears.
Should I be putting on a heavy eyeliner?
You should at least crack out the hair straightener a little bit, yeah. But you'll be bopping.
Get that real side fringe going, perhaps.
Yeah, peak 2005 alongside some of the other greats of that time. So that's next week. Give it a look. We hope that you'll join us then. Rin, anything else to add?
Stay safe and stay sane, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Rin, where were you when the earthquake happened in Melbourne?
No, I'm not.
No, you have to tell the people. No. Come on, we're in the outro.
No, they don't need to know.